All right, welcome back to College Football Addiction. Going to talk a little bit about this UVA Clemson matchup this weekend. I got my guy OG Who coming on to talk from the Hill Pod. Man, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right, man. Appreciate you for having me, big dog.
Yeah,
You
man, I
know,
appreciate you for taking some time and chat with us. Virginia at 4-2 overall. Obviously, the couple losses in there to Maryland and Louisville. Played that one pretty close. Um, just mood overall, 4-2. Pretty, our fans pretty happy with that. A couple of conference wins in there, only one conference loss. Like, fans happy with 4-2 right now?
to this point, given the last 2 years where we don't only won 3 games, 4-2 is generally happy. But I mean, the real motto and the feeling is we should be going into Clemson 6-0.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Louisville, we put beats on them boys for 4 quarters. They didn't look like a regular, like the favorite, like a lot of people thought last year, let alone this year. You know what I mean? And they let that one get away. They was winning all game and let that one get away at the very end of the game. Maryland the same way. They beat them boys up and down the field playing physical football, leaning on them. Then that in those games, it's those 2 or 3 plays that make the big difference.
yeah.
So I mean, we pretty good. We pretty consistent. We feeling it right now at 4-2. 2-1 in the conference. So we ready.
What has been the biggest? I'll ask both sides. What's been the biggest surprise, biggest thing you're like pleased with that maybe you didn't expect, and then maybe outside of like given the game away against Louisville, so like just maybe it's a position group, a player, whatever. What's disappointed you that you were expecting that you haven't seen? So a good thing, a bad thing, I guess.
A bad thing. I'll start with the bad first. I just feel like the offense has yet to have a complete game. The last 2 games we've had injuries to 2 of our major wide receivers, Trail Harris and Chris Tyree. 2 wide receivers that can actually take the top off a defense, and they complement Malachi Fields really well. I've yet to see a game where we can string all phases together for 4 quarters. You know what I mean? That's pretty disappointing, being as we know how explosive this offense can be. You got all the skill positions, you got a qualified running back room, your offensive line done turnkey. So that's been a little disappointing to this juncture. Not to say that they haven't put up a good amount of points every week, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's always meat on the bone. We're getting to the red zone 6 and 7 times a game, and the score is ending with 24 and, you know what I mean, right at 30 points. But you getting in the red zone 6 and 7 times. That's disappointing. A good thing I could say is the change in the offensive line room. The offensive line, it all starts within the trenches. It all starts within the trenches. And last year, Terry Heffernan came over from Stanford. So last year was kind of a gel year, building year, everybody collectively learning the man next to him. This year they've really turned key and are actually pushing people around that you like to see. The Boston College game, the sack leader in college football, had 1 sack, and that 1 sack was the quarterback running out of bounds and he pushed him. So technically it wasn't a sack. You know what I mean? Even against Louisville, the man Gillette, he was locked up until that final drive where he really took off in that series. So that's been a very pleasant thing to see that offensive line get back to the form where we used to be.
That actually leads really well into this. When you think about Clemson, they obviously have a ton of talent out of the skill positions, but their trenches are why they usually win games in this conference and why they have a lot of success. And I mean, even in that first game against Georgia, I thought their trenches looked really good in the first half. Second half, not so much. It's maybe daunting to think of beating Clemson on either side of the ball in the trenches, but which side of the ball do you feel better about matching up with Clemson's trenches?
Uh, Personally, I would say defense. We have so many veteran guys on that defensive line, and Jameer Carter, Chico Bennett, Cam Butler, guys that have been here 6, 7. Cam Butler on his 8th year of college football, guys that have been in the game and have been in a game like this. This isn't going to be like any other game.
Sure.
You know what I mean? When we go into Death Valley, it'll be double of what we've ever seen here at for any home game for these boys that have been here. And I don't think any of them was on the team in 2019 when we played Clemson. I don't think so. But this is going to be an atmosphere that, is going to be unlike any other. And so hopefully that's where you lean on your big 320-pound nose tackle and, your guys that just done been around for a while.
Yeah. When you think about Clemson, they also run the ball fairly well. I mean, Klubnik even runs it well, ran it well when they played NC State, ran it well against FSU, and then Maffa does a really good job as well. Do you think that you just said like you probably lean your defensive line having a little bit better of an advantage, when you think about UVA's trenches. Do you think your front seven can? I don't know that anybody stops their running attack, but can slow them down enough to kind of give you guys a chance?
I think it would have to be a complementary thing. You know what I mean? To beat this team, I don't think it'll just be one side or the other. It's going to have to be a collective thing that's going on. Our all ACC safety, he needs to be making all the plays. When the ball come to a defender and then hit you in the hands, those balls that we usually drop need to turn key to a turnover. Getting your hands on the quarterback, not letting him escape even though he has qualified escapability. You know what I mean? I think it'll be a complete tie in order to really even stay in the game. Because if you focus too hard on stopping the run, they got some NFL wide receivers that's ready for you.
Yeah.
That's coming. You focus too hard on the pass, Maffa is gonna run you over. He's not gonna look to go to the left or to the right, or he's gonna look to go right over top of you. So I think it'll have to be a collective effort, honestly.
You mentioned being a little frustrated with the offense at times and again, trial by fire with Clemson's defense on the other side. It's daunting everywhere thinking about them. But just thoughts on, will they try and take the air out of the ball some and try and ground and pound and make it low scoring? Like, what is the attack plan to try and put points up on Clemson's defense?
I think from my point of view, we would like to see them come out and run the ball. Even if you can't really establish the run, make them, take away the run fully. You have to play complementary. You hoping a guy like Kobe Pace, who's a former Clemson running back, this is what you came here for. This is your game. So hopefully they can hand it to. We got a nice little stable of running backs to, make it second and manageable and third and short instead of second and long and third and long.
Yeah. If you had an X factor, if things go really well for Virginia, they're in the game in the fourth quarter, who played really, really well? I mean, I know you just mentioned Pace, but like who played really well for Virginia, both offense, defense? Give me one guy to look out for.
All right, offensively, I'm going to go with Anthony Calandria, the young sophomore quarterback, the true sophomore. He has all the ability in the world to be the most electrifying man in college football. All the ability, but sometimes he gets stuck in his youth. You know what I mean? If he could come out, have a clear game, and when he snaps the ball, not be locked in on his target already and really work through his progressions, I think that will be a major, major key for this offense, how it will look. And defensively, I'm going to go with cornerback Jam Jackson. Jam Jackson is a transfer from Robert Morris, who came here and he started. That's a big 6'2" corner, and he has great cover ability. At the same time, he has a tendency to be a robot and not a football player. And when I say that, I mean, you in a strict cover three, you got deep thirds, but you see the running back sneak it out into your flats, but you continue to take that deep third. Yeah. Knowing ain't nobody over top of you because you're sticking to, well, I got my zone, right? Ain't nobody in my zone. I got my zone, instead of being a football player and attacking and making that play. I think they're going to come right at Jam Jackson. That's the same thing that Louisville tried for sure. So I think it would be Calandria on offense and Jam Jackson on defense.
I like the quarterback pick there. I don't know if you watched the Florida State game against Clemson, but young kid in Brock Glenn got in for, the first start of the year that he had, and he had some success. If Florida State's wide receivers could have held on to the ball, it was the highest graded QB performance that Florida State had this year. Obviously, DJ's not playing very well plays into that, but he had the highest graded quarterback performance of the year, and he did it against Clemson's defense, right? This is daunting Clemson defense that we have and that we consider to be maybe the class of the ACC. they're certainly susceptible if you make the right reads. He only had one really bad play, the interception that was a miscommunication on a route, but I like the quarterback pick there because if he plays and gets through his progressions, finds the open guy, willing to take checkdowns, take the shots when they're there, they can be had. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling you that teams are going to run up the score on Clemson or anything like that, but they can be gotten in certain moments. So I like that pick a lot.
Oh yeah.
Looking at this game, obviously at 4-2, you're thinking like, okay, well, the team's focused on the game, but you and I don't have to go out and play on Saturday, so we can look more big picture.
Mm-hmm.
UNC after this, and then I don't know what you guys did to ask for this schedule in November of. I looked at it, so I had seen it in the
Yeah.
offseason. When you look at when the conference sends out the entire schedule, and you look at it, you're like, oh man, that's brutal. But I'd kind of forgotten about it because you're 6-7 weeks into the season. You're not really thinking about every single individual schedule. And I looked at it again. UNC, a very winnable game at home after this, but
Yep.
then at Pitt, at Notre Dame, at SMU, at Virginia Tech to finish it off. Again, I don't know who you guys pissed off in the commissioner's office. You guys aren't the ones suing to get out, so I'm surprised it was y'all, not us. But this kind of feels like, man, we need to, it's going to be tough. It's going to be daunting. But you start to think like, man, if we pull off a win in Death Valley against Clemson, there's nobody else on the schedule that should worry you at all. Now, nobody likes the moral victory game either. But even if you just played them close, like you lose by a touchdown because they're just better, right? Like it's hard to hang your hat on, or hang your head over that. But if you just look competent, you just look competitive. You don't, like the Louisville game. Hey, man, it was close. You kind of blew it late, but you were in it. You had a chance. If you could find a way to get in there late in the fourth quarter against Clemson, I think it gives you a lot of hope for the rest of the schedule in making this maybe a bowl eligible team at 6-6 to, man, we could do some cool things and win 7 or 8 games this year based on, again, what kind of confidence you could take out of this one. And obviously, if you steal this game, then the sky's the limit for UVA.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think this is a good opportunity for them. This is a good opportunity for the entire program. You know what I mean? Last game, shit, I'll go back to the Boston College game, even the Maryland game. I knew going into the game we were the better team, and we saw that on the field. The more stronger, the more athletic, the more physical team in all 6 games. I don't expect it to be this way this week, but what I do expect is that age-old saying your parents used to tell you in the car when you headed to your grandparents' house. Don't you go over here and embarrass me. Don't you go over there and embarrass Tony. I want to see them boys fight. And regardless of the outcome, the script stays the same. I still believe there are 2 to 3 more wins on this schedule,
Yeah.
and we got SMU at home. I believe. I think we play them at home. We got 2 more home games, and that's UNC and then SMU. So you got
You're
two
right.
strong
You're right.
potentials in front of a home crowd. Pitt, that's a solid team. But one thing that we do know about Virginia is they are always guaranteed to steal one,
Yeah.
especially on the road and especially versus a ranked team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still opportunity there for it to be had. The biggest thing is for this game is let's see how far away we are. Let's see, are we any closer than what we were in 2019 when we went and played? And it was a pretty competitive game. It was a really competitive game until they busted up Bryce and things went sour. So let's see where we stack up there, I guess, in a mental aspect for me.
Big spread in this one, 21. I do think I like Clemson to win it. I think UVA covers just a lot of
Yep.
points, and I don't know that I'm ready to say that Clemson is back yet. I do think UVA covers. I think that Clemson probably wins this thing by a score or two. Do you kind of lean that way as well? UVA can kind of keep it close, but Clemson probably comes out on top.
Oh, yeah. UVA's covered the spread. I believe they might be undefeated against the spread right now. 21.5 is a lot of points. That's a lot of points for a very competent team.
Yeah.
A competent and physical team. Now, I might not be physical enough to win this game, but they damn sure going to be physical enough to not go in there and get beat 50-14.
Yeah. Not
You
NC
know,
State Part 2
yeah,
would be the thing
not
to
NC
avoid.
State, not Wake Forest. I know that game was close with us in Wake Forest, but this is a completely different ball game. Them young boys gonna be ready to play in that atmosphere. That's what you look for, and when you a gamer and you playing the game, these big time games right here. Big time players make big time plays in big time games.
OG, I appreciate you for hanging out, man. Where can people follow you? Where can they get more of your content? Where can they check you out at?
Oh yeah, you can look me up. I'm on Twitter, OG Who. I'm out here, and in terms of the podcast, it's the Hill Podcast. I'm on all major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We out there, so look us up. UVA got fans too, baby.
Man, I appreciate you for hanging out. Good luck this weekend, bro.
Hey, no doubt, bro. I appreciate you having me.
Anytime.